Welcome to this educational slideshow. Its purpose is to offer you an introduction to what is legislatively called early intervention services. It has been well documented that the early years from birth to 3 are critical as they provide the foundation for later learning and development. According to the Mayo Clinic, every child grows and develops at his or her own pace. And even though a child's development is individual, it still tends to follow a fairly predictable path. The path can be described as a series of developmental milestones that are demonstrated through physical or behavioral signs that coincide with the maturation of infants and young children. Some children may need assistance in reaching their developmental milestones due to a delay, disability, or special need that occurred at birth or that develops early on in their life. Children who are in need of this type of help may be eligible to receive early intervention services through their state's early intervention program. Two primary reasons to intervene early are to enhance the child's development and to provide support and assistance to the family. According to the National Dissemination Center for Children with Disabilities, early intervention services are an effective way to help children catch up or address specific developmental concerns as soon as possible in their lives and are designed to meet the needs of infants and toddlers from birth through age 3 who have a developmental delay or disability. The services are concerned with all of the basic and brand new skills that babies and young children typically develop during their first 3 years of life, including physical, cognitive, communication, social-emotional, and self-help skills. The current federal law that grants and protects infants and toddlers and their families' rights to early intervention services is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act of 2004, Part C. To learn more about the IDEA 2004, visit the website listed on this slide. It is important to note that early intervention services differ among states. This is because federal legislation gave each state the following responsibilities: to assign a lead agency to provide services, to administer the coordination of services, and to determine a state's definition for eligibility, including a definition for developmental delay. Although services in each state may look different, they have core characteristics based on legislative requirements. Infants and toddlers who are referred to the lead agency in their state because of a diagnosis or developmental concern are evaluated and assessed by a multidisciplinary team of professionals. Early intervention services are then determined based on the eligibility definition of the state in which the child resides. State and jurisdictional eligibility definitions for infants and toddlers with disabilities under the IDEA 2004 legislation can be found at the National Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center website listed on this slide. If eligible for the program, the family is assigned a service coordinator who will manage the child's and family services. Providers from various disciplines will work interdependently and collaboratively along with the service coordinator and the family based on the child's and family's needs. Some early intervention providers might include special educators, physical therapists, speech-language pathologists, occupational therapists, and social workers. Some of the services provided in early intervention include family training, home visits, counseling, special instruction, speech-language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and service coordination. These services would be delivered by a variety of providers, and not all children require every service. Before the services can begin, the service coordinator, along with other professionals, in conjunction with the family, create a plan called an Individualized Family Service Plan, or IFSP. It is an official and comprehensive document that contains all of the information about the early intervention services that the child and family will receive. According to the IDEA 2004 Part C legislation, the IFSP should include the following: a statement of the child's present developmental level in all areas of development, a statement of the family's resources, priorities, and concerns that relate to the infant or toddler's development, outcomes and results, explanation of services, listing of natural environments, dates of service, naming of service coordinator, and plans for transition into and out of the program. The IFSP includes the individual goals and activities for the providers and family members to use in working with the child to reach his or her developmental milestones. The family, along with the service coordinator and other providers, should review the IFSP every 6 months and update it once a year. But since the IFSP is a living document, Family members can have the service coordinator make changes or updates to the IFSP at any time. Some possible changes or updates might include the discontinuation or addition of goals or services, or the documentation of concerns or family changes. Early intervention is team-based, so after the assigning of a service coordinator and the creation of the IFSP, a team of providers is determined based on the needs of the family and the child. Each provider works with the child and his or her family for a specific amount of time each week. During this session, a provider demonstrates ways to assist the child and also models strategies for families that they can use with their child based on the goals on the IFSP and on the provider's specialty of knowledge. Consulting and collaborating with family members and other providers, participating in discussions, and assisting and training for the family are ways they lend support to the family and the team. Early intervention services are family-centered. Family-centered practice is built around the values and strengths of the family. Family choice is at the center of the model and should be reinforced by a collaborative partnership between family members and the early intervention system and its professionals. Some important considerations in family-centered practice are: parents and guardians should be equally involved as active partners in the process, as this recognizes their important role in the lives of their children. Families should be offered information in a way that lends support and is not critical, and in addition, the family should not feel threatened in any way, including their self-confidence or cultural or religious traditions. Family members should be treated with respect and dignity. Providers should consider the unique needs of each child and family and also recognize the importance of individuality and variety within the population of children and families served in early intervention. All children and families are different, so interventions, curricula, and approaches must be individualized to the child and the family for early intervention to be successful. Early intervention services are required to take place in natural environments. This means that the service provider meets and works with the child and family in places including the home or community settings in which children without disabilities participate and are provided in conformity with the IFSP. Early intervention is not to be delivered in places that would isolate the family or child from everyday life unless specifically proven it is necessary to do so and it is documented on the IFSP. Generally, early intervention services take place in the home, as this is the most natural environment for many children. Some additional natural environments may include the child's backyard, the park or playground, the grocery store, or the public library. Any place the child can practice his or her skills functionally and does not separate him or her from typically developing children. Another way services are provided for infants and toddlers in the early intervention program is in inclusive classrooms where the service provider engages directly with the child at the center or home-based program. Within this model, the provider works to support the goals on the IFSP and collaborates with the classroom teachers. According to the Division for Early Childhood and the National Association for the Education of Young Children, early childhood inclusion embodies the values, policies, and practices that support the right of every infant and young child and his or her family, regardless of ability, to participate in a broad range of activities and contexts as full members of families, communities, and society. Therefore, the child should be served by the provider alongside his or her typically developing peers. As early intervention is family-centered, it is extremely important for the provider to communicate with the family regularly. If the child is being seen at the child care center or home-based program, this can be accomplished through written notes, phone calls, emails, or text messages to ensure the family is being included in their child's learning and development. In conclusion, the basics of early intervention are that it is for children ages birth to 3 with a delay or disability and their families. Services are protected by the IDEA 2004 Part C legislation. Eligibility differs among states. There are many providers and services. A service coordinator manages the services. An IFSP is created for each child and family. Early intervention is family-centered and takes place in natural environments, and the earlier the child receives services, the more benefit will be evident. Thank you for viewing this educational slideshow. I hope it has furthered your knowledge of early intervention. The following slide includes websites you might find helpful in learning even more about early intervention. Here are the sources of information that were used for this presentation.